Good afternoon. It's 12:03 p.m. It is January 22nd, Thursday afternoon. I'm actually making some effort. I did look for work this morning, and I have to say, I'm actually kind of, you know, I get frustrated with it because, it's difficult for me to feel comfortable doing that because of everything that's happened in the past. But I feel as though I need to roll up my sleeves and do what I can to help my son. I know that we are dealing with a lot of stress. I'm dealing with stress. My son seems to be more, he seems to handle things more than I do. But see, I've always been somebody who likes to know what I'm doing. Oh, that's weird. I like to know what I'm doing ahead of time. I like to be able to make plans. I like to know what I'm doing. And I know that when dealing with gang stalking, human trafficking, and then people being at the control of what I'm doing for, like this, the last network, which included Burris Collins, it was a nightmare. Okay, and so right now I'm dealing with the residual outcome of what he did. So I'm looking for work and I'm letting myself be flexible. You know what I mean? I even considered like applying for retail jobs. And the reason why is because, I'm just open to doing anything at this point because I really want to help out my son. But I also thought it was important for me to express my interest in working for dispensaries. Yes, I am interested in working for marijuana dispensaries. Why? Because obviously it's a industry that would not have a problem with marijuana. Okay, and then obviously it's an environment that I would not have to feel so, you know, restricted in. Okay, mainly because I mean, I understand that there's people here in Bakersfield who smoke marijuana. There are some employers that are fine with it, and then there are some who don't aren't. You know what I mean? Marijuana is legal, okay, but I know that Bruce in his nightmare drama created a lot of issues for me, which I feel as though is unfair, mainly because I believe the use of marijuana, especially in the sense of where I use it and how I have displayed my maturity um, while using it, I think should make all the difference in the world. I mean, I think people should know that I'm not somebody who is irresponsible in any way. I've always been rather stable, okay? Even when back in the days when I was young and just using it for recreational purposes, which now I would say I use primarily for um, depression, to manage depression, as well as, yeah, mood, depression, and my ability to sleep, which is very important for me. Still, I feel as though Bruce's hate campaign created problems for me. Okay. And then also the issue of CB Berganza, which is a nightmare anyway. So I think, I'm proceeding with caution. So, like I said, I did follow up on some jobs this morning, sending emails and as well as making phone calls. I still hate making phone calls, but I'm doing the best I can. When it comes to looking for work in dispensaries, I find that very difficult to do. It's hard because I don't know if there's a lot of strict requirements for dispensaries, but it seems as though there's a lot of them in the town, but it seems as though they go out of business quickly. And I'm wondering, is it because they are not living up to certain standards that might be required by the state? And if they get audited, they might be failing, or maybe they're not managing their money correctly, or whatever. But I feel as though my background would be a great contributor to that particular industry. Okay. And yes, I do not look at marijuana as a negative thing. I actually do believe that I would add class to that industry. Why? Because I don't believe that I should be categorized like, a Cheech and Chong or something along those lines. I'm obviously somebody who reflects a mature person, somebody who makes good decisions. So, contrary to what people like to say about marijuana, I do believe that I would represent marijuana in a very positive light. Okay. So it's very difficult to find, companies that are open. Like I've called some on a list, and a lot of the numbers are disconnected, out of business, out of service. And so this is my issue when it comes to this particular industry. It seems as though a lot of these kind of storefronts are not stable. That's my issue with that. I would strive to bring stability to these particular industries. just because I have a good business sense, as well as I respect the idea of marijuana, and I do not look at it as a negative thing. Okay, which I understand a lot of people do, but I think it all depends on how it's used, and that sort of thing. So anyway, I'm open into doing different things, and I am trying to be proactive. Like I said, I am very uncomfortable dealing with the residual nonsense that Bruce created here in this community. And then I also understand that me coming to understand about the apparition, you have to understand, like, I didn't know about this. So for the longest time in the community, I have been highlighted, fixated on, focused on regarding this particular apparition, and I had no idea. So I'm now just coming to understand it. So it's like, I mean, when I would say in 2014, a little bit after leaving Murray Family Farms, I felt like people were really focused in on me. And like I said, this would have been a perfect opportunity to let me know what was going on, but no one ever told me. No one ever told me. So now I'm getting a better understanding of what was going on outside, and I'm trying to learn how to live with it. You know what I mean? I don't. Now that I know, all I can do is move forward and do the best I can. I really don't have anything else I can do. But like I said, I do feel as though it was the a community's responsibility, or whoever noticed the apparition. Actually, I've been getting messages that the apparition has been seen earlier than like 2000, maybe 2010, somewhere within that bracket. I don't know specifically when. I know my dad died in 1996. I don't know if it was something, maybe I should do more extensive readings on that, because I don't know, okay? But all I know is that this particular apparition follows me, and apparently I follow my father in the 1960s and before that. So we're soul travelers apparently, okay? And so it's a phenomenon type thing, whatever. Okay, like I said, I do understand that the community was aware of it. No one informed me of it. I feel as though the people should have let me know, okay? Because how else am I supposed to know how else am I supposed to feel like I'm out in public, and people are talking about me or whatever, and I don't even know. So anyway, moving on with that. So yeah, I'm interested. Of course, I'm open to doing accounting jobs, and jobs that I'm regularly open to doing. But I do think that something in the marijuana industry would be very good for me, mainly because I feel as though it's in alignment with, I'm not judgmental. I'm not uptight. I'm not uber. Some people think that I'm conservative. You know what I mean? Even though I'm open to smoking marijuana, but what I'm saying is I have high morals. Okay, so I'm a little bit there. I mean, in between two worlds is what I'm saying, and but I'm also open to other ideas, and so because of this, I feel as though the marijuana industry would be ideal for me. Okay, I would definitely think that. Also, there are I did apply to some remote jobs. Now, I understand you have to be very careful when it comes to remote positions. Like, I just got burned working a remote position. But, I'm requesting that interviews be taken place, in a professional way, to at least I have a face I could put to, as well as contact information, direct contact information. I think that's important if you're willing to work remote jobs, which I am. Okay. I think a remote job would be great, and I certainly do have a space for it. Um, that would be an ideal thing to do as well. But like I said last time, I was dealing with the fraud that took place with the check, and then the nightmare drama. So when it comes to online work, people have to be very careful about that. Okay, I just saw on a little bit after that happened to me, I saw something. I think it was on YouTube. Maybe it was on YouTube. Could have been Facebook or Instagram. Whatever. It was another lady who she was working maybe a few months or something with a online job, and then all of a sudden she logged in one morning and the website was gone and everything. So you have to be very careful with online jobs, and hopefully that they're reputable. I would suggest finding out as much as you can about the job, the company, how long they've been in existence, have contact information, be able to communicate with members of management, and it's important to actually physically see them, either through like a Teams type meetup, or something along those lines, something that guarantees that these people are legitimate. Okay. So I know that this is, fraud is running rampant right now because a lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are desperate. A lot of people, are dealing with, I would tell you, like the corporate industry, how they review resumes and stuff. They're just not expedient enough. A lot of them aren't answering phones. They don't do things, as efficiently as they should. There's a lot of backlog and stuff like that when people want to look for work. So it can become very, very frustrating. But anyway, I'm doing the best I can. I do not want to put my son in this situation. I'm very frustrated and disturbed that I was even targeted in the first place. You know what I mean? And when I think about the history of CB Berganza, I can't, okay. I'm trying to figure out, like, when it comes to CB Berganza, because when I was young, okay, I remember when I was a teenager, finding jobs was really easy for me. It was really easy. I remember people like saying, Maria, you always get jobs really easily. Like, I would work maybe like at Target, and then, I would say, I want another job, and then I would find another job just like that. So it seems just like, right after Bruce got involved in my nightmare drama, things just really started, falling apart for me. Because, like I said, in high school, well, I would say a little after high school, because my first job was at Double Deal Pizza. And then after leaving high school, I would work several jobs, and I never had a hard time finding a job. It was like really easy for me to find a job. And now, after dealing with gang stalking, it has been an absolute nightmare. And the reason why is because of what Bruce did, okay, of what he did. I've always interviewed well. I've always been able to perform a job well. I would say so. So going back to CB Berganza, okay, and going back because I don't believe that me being CB Berganza affected my employment. I don't believe it affected my ability to find employment before I was targeted with Bruce Collins coming around. I'm not kidding, because when I think about it, I was able to find, like, I remember when I got, department store jobs. I remember there were times where there were jobs where people were like lined up, and somehow I would end up getting the job out of all these people. So what I'm saying is that Bruce's involvement with my work search created problems for me. Okay. And really, I don't believe that I was never using magic or spells to get jobs when I was a teenager. It was just me looking for work, completing my applications well, interviewing well, and doing my job. So Bruce's involvement in my work, because I'm looking back, okay, I'm really looking back to when I started looking for work and having jobs and everything. And I remember comments people would say, man, you get jobs just like that. You always get jobs. You always get jobs. Like, you were working here and you didn't like that job and you ended up getting another job. And I'm like thinking, okay, I am so sorry that Bruce ever got involved in my work. I am so sorry he ever touched my work. You know what I mean? And his stupid campaign and all of the other negative things that he's created with me. You know what I mean? I'm somebody who should be able to get a job just like that. And it's very frustrating for me because, um, okay, I understand that people knew that I was CB Berganza. This I understood. But I believe that when Bruce got involved with my work, he put another spin on it. Like it was, overly focused. Because really, okay, I'm trying to think. Okay, as CB Berganza, yeah, I mean, like I don't recall running into employment problems before Bruce. Before this happened, I was always able to find jobs easily. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but I will say that this issue has left me in a state of depression. I am completely unhappy with being affected by what Bruce has done. I do understand that, a lot of this has to do with them following me around because of the apparition of my father. But at the end of the day, it's like that should have been told to me. That should have been revealed to me, directly to me, and whatever. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to find a list of different dispensaries here in the community, and legitimate ones. Okay. Because I went online to find a list of dispensaries, and when you call the numbers, they're just not there. They're just not there. Okay. So the message I'm getting right now is that many people have turned against Bruce. They have recognized that he was a very, twisted person. And I understand that, there are marijuana dispensaries here in this community, and the reason why these ones do stay open, the ones with longevity, is because they have customers, and these customers are getting their money from somewhere, which they must be working. Okay, so my issue is that I feel as though Bruce targeted me unfairly because of my use of marijuana, when there is clearly evidence that many people are gainfully employed here in this community who do partake of it. Okay, so marijuana is never going to interfere with my ability to do a job, nor is it something that I do while I'm on the job. So, I feel as though I needed to clear up these sort of misconceptions. Okay. I am ready to go back to work as soon as possible. The message I'm getting right now is I took down the network, which I'm aware of, and I know that Bruce was a part of it, Kevin Pepper was a part of it. Possibly, I'm pretty sure the Lyles clans were a part of it too. Everybody I used to know was part of it, and I have a hard time overlooking what they did. They seriously did affect me in a way that rattles me. Why? Because, uh, like I said, I look at a job. My voice is so hoarse. I look at a job or work in general as an important part of your life, and everyone knows that you need income in order to survive. So when I refer to this as employment tampering, I don't accept employment tampering, and I understand that it's something that should never be done. And I don't take it lightly because it does threaten people's lives, and it makes it so that they become very unstable. Like, this happening to me, I should have never been overly persecuted for marijuana. Never. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because obviously it's legal, right? It's legal. Okay. And also, I felt as though Bruce was in his entourage was trying to press me to the wall, or even though they never even came out and verbally said it. Nobody verbally said it. It's just I internally, got this from my intuitive messages. But I believe that they were using my son to try to monitor my behavior without my son just coming right out and saying, hey, this, and this. Okay. Instead of playing these charade games, talking about my cashews and all this other crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Whatever the case is, um, I am someone who is able to be employed regardless, and I'm tired of dealing with the struggle of what Bruce created. I'm an employable person. I'm somebody who is willing to do my job. I do it well. I'm accurate, and I'm tired of being at home. Okay, I'm really tired of being home. Do people do recognize that Bruce really was not my husband or anyone who was in any position to do anything, as well as the kids of 533. And I hope that people now understand the signs of gang stalking and would be doing something, putting things in place to prevent it from happening to another human being. I will tell you, being targeted for 10 consecutive years has been very draining for me. Very draining for me. And then the fact that, when I think of the audacity of these people, like, I had talked about, me figuring out who Sarah was and her role in this. And, Bruce was really off. He was way off. Okay. I would have, like I said, I would have never been in a network that consisted of those combinations of people. Okay. So this is an obvious hate crime that I'm sitting here trying to recover from. And I get emotional when I think about it because it's like, I am here to the Bakersfield community to start another life, right? So that I could, live a life, a regular life, a full life, okay? And I ended up having my life destroyed here in this community because of Bruce Collins, okay? And yes, it bothers me. So Bruce was obviously attacking everything about me, okay? Which I feel, I don't like being put on the spot, you know what I mean? And I do understand that Bruce had certain views of maybe Sarah is the kind of girl that he thinks is the model employee or whatever. But I am an African American woman. I look different than my white counterparts. I'm going to have different tastes and interests, and I have to deal with these little humps and hurdles. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? And this is who I am, and I'm tired of Bruce's, residual nonsense affecting my life. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I think I'm going to be pretty open for the rest of the day. I don't really have anything on the agenda. I feel as though I did my little work search for the day. I called who I needed to call. Unfortunately, it's always difficult to get in touch with people. So I'm basically starting my work search all over again, which is very time consuming. I'm hoping to find something quickly. You know, if you are supportive of mine, keep your fingers crossed and wish me well. I'm going to wrap up this video and I'll be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye-bye.